fans of boxing, it's more than likely you've been waiting 14 years for a successor to Fight Night Champion. Well, today we see the release of the standard edition of Undisputed, a new boxing game which claims to offer an authentic experience. And it's worth noting that these claims of authenticity are the main reason why paying customers invested in Undisputed's early access 20 months ago. So with over 4 years of development, let us break down the pros and cons of the game so you can form your own conclusion on whether or not Undisputed is worth purchasing at full price. So let's begin with what the game has to offer. We either have the choice to jump into a quick fight, invest your time into a career mode, or experience the thrill of the fight online. Now, the game packs a fairly decent roster, including Muhammad Ali, Larry Holmes, Roy Jones Jr., and Sugar Ray Robinson. Popular active fighters include Canelo, Fury, Usyk, and Crawford, and the deluxe edition includes Caleb Plant, Julio Cesar Chavez, as well as Dimitri Bivol. Now, we'll get into the gameplay mechanics shortly, but for now, let's go over what the career mode has to offer.
There's a team that's been working on character creation since the beginning.
Once you select your difficulty, you'll have the option to customize your fighter. Aside from changing your gender and weight class, you can meticulously shape the way your fighter looks. Not only can you give yourself a small or large nose, forehead, chin, lips, it's that ability to shape your nostrils, the corners of your lips or your eyes, which really make this a standout feature. The problem is, the core models that you manipulate are not based on real people. So sadly, no matter how much you spend refining these models, they tend to end up looking like wax candles, specifically when they're up against their human counterparts. Once you choose your fighter's apparel, we move on to the career mode.
There's a team that's been working on career mode since the beginning.
This is a simulation of the responsibilities a boxer would have to undertake on their way to chasing a title. As the career begins, we choose our coach, cutman, and manager, and their ratings will start out pretty low. As you progress through your career, you'll be able to improve your stats, take part in media duties, as well as recover your fighter. Now, the problem is, and you're going to hear that a lot by the way, you don't actually take part in any of these activities before the fight. You're just pressing buttons, and 5 fights in, this becomes extremely monotonous. You won't have the option to train in a gym, to hit the bag, communicate with your coach. These are aspects of a game which help create a sense of immersion. But what about the gameplay? In my very first match, we see there is a stark improvement in how the AI initially reacts to my movement and my strikes. He steps back and evades my first strike, blocks my follow-up, and counters with a body uppercut jab combination. As I keep him at bay, he continues to pursue me, evades my strikes, and once again he maintains pressure and follows up with a combination. Now, the same can't be said for my follow-up opponents, who either wouldn't engage or were over-aggressive, which by the way is not the issue, it's the lack of stamina deterrent, because stamina management is a strategy in itself. He spams me with jabs to the head, to the body, and it penetrates my block, which of course is a far cry from the update trailer Steel City released, ensuring us that the AI had been fixed. Now, for those who don't know, I've already offered a full in-depth review of the career mode. If this is your interest, link in the description. But as for the AI, I decided to give it another chance and tested myself against Lomachenko using the hardest difficulty, and the match started out relatively well. Loma kept his guard high, but once again, for no reason, he would completely leave the fight. At times, he wouldn't engage at all. When he did engage in the pocket, despite the overuse of outside fighting mechanics, these exchanges weren't too bad. But with that, you can see with your own 2 eyes that something just doesn't sit right. So let's discuss the core aspects of the game you care about the most, the gameplay mechanics. This will be the last time I cover the game on this channel, so be sure to sub to my second channel at Claimer Undisputed, link in the description. For the past few months, Steel City have been working behind the scenes updating the game, and this latest version leaves a lot to be desired. For one, the general consensus is that desync, as in lag, is worse than the previous build. What that means is you'll find yourself getting hit or knocked out from ghost punches. Now, this issue alone is a game deleter, but sadly it gets worse. Power punches can now be used excessively with no stamina deterrent, which has led to the majority of the player base using nothing but power strikes. Now, that's an issue that can be addressed sooner than later. They may release a hotfix for it at the time this video drops, but the issues don't stop there. They've reduced the power of regular strikes across the board, and using regular strikes drains your stamina more than power strikes. And as a result, if you're not using power strikes, most matches end up going the full 8 rounds. It gets worse. Last month, they announced the introduction of a combo flow system. Most of you know that they watch my videos, and despite me warning them about the potential for these combinations to keep the opponent in a stunned state, with 1 month to reconsider, they released it anyway. And this is what it looks like. Now, some people think this is a bug. I don't think it is. If you watch their update video, this is the same mechanic. Now, the reason Muhammad Ali cannot defend himself is because he's getting stunned every 1 to 2 strikes. Which begs the question, and it's the same question I've asked in the past, who signs off introducing a new mechanic like this without stress testing on the day of launch? This feature is now an integral part of the game. I'd imagine it will be hard to roll back and even harder to get right. Now, those are the bigger issues, but there are also nuanced issues which limit playstyles which cut off the ring and in general rely on timing, precision and setting traps. They have dialed back the tracking of the jab, which should be a good thing. However, power strikes and hooks remain just as accurate, which often leaves the jab of all punches redundant. Anytime you land with the jab or straight, your opponent can interrupt it at all times with a power strike or a hook. So what is the point in landing first when you can just stand back and counter? So with that, it seems the focus now is on stationary combinations, leaning back and slipping with no thought, no skill to get the counter. That is Rock'em Sock'em Robots. So where do we go from here?
It's not so much of a case of proving people wrong or proving doubters wrong. Like, we had a vision what we're going to execute. We're going to do that regardless of what anyone thinks or says.
We're going to do that regardless of what anyone thinks or says.
Steel City clearly have their own vision of not just what the game should be, but also who the target audience is. And I'd imagine it's the same demographic who love UFC 5, which is why they strategically handpicked UFC content creators to test their game, gain early access, and cover the game online before anyone else.
They have a dedicated team that watches our videos. Not just ours, anyone's videos regarding ESBC. When the game comes out, we're going to be doing essentially the same thing that Marshall Bond is doing right now with UFC 4. We're going to be doing fighter showcases. We're going to be able to create our own content. And we've already built the community that's ready to watch us play the game.
Parasites aside, Undisputed at its core is still a fun game to play. It's just a shame that this new build contains a plethora of bugs, latency issues, and new features which have yet to be stress tested. The online experience in its current state, well, you be the judge. So listen, if you're a devout boxing fan and still determined to buy this game, I'd highly recommend you wait for a Steel City update, because maybe, who knows, this build might be one big mistake. It's not uncommon when you merge builds for there to be conflicts. Now, I will continue to test and provide updates on the game at Claimer Undisputed, which is my second channel. I'll leave a link in the description. I still have that naive hope that 5 to 6 updates down the line, we end up with a game which isn't perfect, but the mechanics, timing, precision, strategy, and setting traps remain a viable option against those who choose to rely on this Rock'em Sock'em style. But anywho, let me know what you think. Maybe you're enjoying the latest update and you think I'm completely wrong. Maybe you think Undisputed is coming to an end. Let's talk about it. Have a great weekend, guys. Take care. Peace.